What looks like a giant spaceship parked.
Oh, I know this right away. This is Apple HQ. Crazy. This is like over $1 billion worth of investment.
In the lush flats of Cupertino, California, is actually tech giant Apple.
Whoa, I've never seen that like rainbow looking piece of candy thing in the middle, so they better show what that is. Could you imagine, by the way, like every day you drive into work, just your typical commute into your $1 billion building? Insane.
Apple's new HQ. Fittingly named the Apple Park, this stunning architecture sprawls across 176 acres of land and might just be one of
176 acres. For a second, I want to give you guys some perspective. This is the most expensive real estate in the world. Like, it's $1 billion building, but like 170 plus acres in this Cupertino, California. You know how expensive that real estate is? Where hopefully somewhere on the screen you're seeing how expensive an acre of that real estate is. We're gonna have to figure that out. But the other thing I'll say is this building, by the way, if you guys haven't heard this, people actually were like suing the company because they're crashing into the glass in this building because there's just glass everywhere, and the employees were actually walking face first into the glass. That's how integrated this glass is into the building.
the most stunning campuses in the world. Despite its incredibly futuristic looks, the Apple Park has been a long time in the making, with Steve Jobs first announcing the project way back in 2000.
By the way, that little model they just showed of like the model of the building itself is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. A little moment where they show like the park and it's all miniature and everything, those displays cost a fortune.
6. It took 8 long years of
Yeah, this thing right here, you know how expensive this thing is? Like, just to build this little thing is insanely expensive.
planning, proposals, and permit applications. But by 2014, construction was well underway, and by 2017, the vast Apple workforce was already starting to move in. The massive ring-shaped building is now an iconic symbol of the Apple.
Wow, like look at that. I haven't seen this dusk shot where it's kind of like the sun is setting. You can see the lights on in the building. I wonder what it feels like to stand in one portion of the building and look across and see the other portion of the building.
Brand, and is a fantastic testament to the company's dedication to effortless design, sustainability, and the future of technology. It was originally estimated that the campus would cost just $500 million to put together. However, the land alone cost $160 million.
There it is, $160 million for the land. Insane, that's so crazy.
And the costs quickly started to overrun. By 2011,
Also, there you go. Apple, $1 trillion company, super smart people. They can't even get construction costs right. So when you go out and you try to build something and you think, oh, we're just gonna, estimate it $500 million, even Apple's gonna be wrong. Let's see just how wrong they were about their own construction costs.
the budget in place had multiplied to a little under $3 billion. And when it was all
What? Okay, this is way off my original estimation. And look at that tunnel too, eh? The cars actually drive under that tunnel, and that's where all their parking is. It's like their own city that they built.
said and done, Apple were looking at a bill closer to 5. A $5 billion
$5 billion. You know how much money that is for a building, guys? This is just a building.
bill is a big sum of money for any company to justify. Any company except Apple, that is.
I'd still say $5 billion is expensive. I don't care how much money you got in the bank. I know they're a $1 trillion business. And I think there's a point where they actually have like, I don't know, $1 billion in just liquid cash. That was going back a few years when they talked about that, but like, this is just insane.
Of $2 trillion and is estimated to profit around $60 billion by the end of this year alone. So where was all that?
So I know I just said they had $1 billion in like liquid cash, but you're seeing $60 billion. It's because a lot of that money comes in, but it's going back out into things. They're reinvesting into stuff. They're building $5 billion buildings. So that money kind of gets thrown around, but like, what a cool project. Okay.
Money spent and what makes the Apple Park so incredible. For starters, the campus is made up of multiple buildings. However, 80% of the land is still considered to be green space. Apple and the designers put a lot of effort into making the park fit seamlessly into nature, planting over 9,000 drought-resistant trees throughout the ground.
So one of the first architects that came up with this whole idea of buildings sitting structured into the landscape and kind of blending in is Frank Lloyd Wright, who built prairie-style homes. And he was really a really big proponent of this idea of let's build a house that sits in with the landscape. It doesn't kind of like take away from the landscape. It's not one of these McMansions where it's just a big mess of a house trying to showboat. He was really about building beautiful houses that are super well integrated into the landscape. So that's where this design philosophy comes from an architectural standpoint.
Including cherry, apricot, olive, and of course, a few varieties of apple. To encourage workers to maintain a healthy
Of course, you gotta have some apple trees in the ad. That's so cool. I didn't think about that. Super meta. Should have seen that one coming.
Lifestyle, the grounds feature 3.2 kilometers worth of various walking and running trails, as well as 1,000 bikes that can be used to commute between the buildings. Other lifestyle facilities include a gym, wellness center, and a couple of basketball courts.
It just gets cooler and cooler. You got your own gym, you can show up, take a bike to work. Amazing. They've nailed everything. Okay, let's go see our next video now. I gotta stop it right away. Louis Vuitton, the music. This already looks like a beautifully designed handbag or something, this building. Okay, so as we're looking at this initial look at this building, first thing is glass is one of the most expensive things to build with. And the reason is that, especially when you have glass that's all these different shapes and sizes and everything else, it's not like you can just go to like your Home Depot and just pick up some glass. This is all like custom fit sized glass. It's super, super expensive. And one day, all this glass is gonna have to be replaced. These are windows everywhere. So very expensive building to create, very expensive building to keep up, and the heating costs and cooling costs would be through the roof.
Countless governments and companies have taken a stab at building a city of the future. There's Songdo in South Korea, the Alphabet-funded Quayside project in Toronto,
I remember hearing about this project,
which was abandoned in May of last year, and both Singapore and Barcelona have tried to modernize with smart sensors. In January of 2021, Saudi Arabia announced plans for its own futuristic city called.
This is gonna be crazy. Anytime you get over where all this oil money's floating around, things are gonna get out of hand. Let's see what we got.
The Line. Instead of communities sprawling outward from a central location, they would be built vertically and arranged, well, in a line, hence the name. Even though the—
Shut up. There's no way they're building this wall. What is this, man?
Vision for the city stretches 170 kilometers, it would do away with cars and
no cars, 170 kilometers. What am I looking at?
entirely, and instead be connected by high-speed rail that would travel the entire length in just 20 minutes.
Look how that's a mirror too. It's a mirror, like reflecting back the desert. This is the kind of stuff, by the way, that alien life forms come and see, and they're like, you guys are doing okay, man. This is looking a little more technologically advanced.
And each individual community would be largely self-contained, so that—
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this is an idea. Number one, it seems highly impractical, but then when they're explaining like one rail system, let's see where this goes.
Now, what if I told you they're already building it?
Shut your face.
They literally started building it. This is real.
Get out of here. We're talking like how much have they started building? They get the plans approved kind of thing?
They're working on it.
Get the heck out of here.
almost anything you could need, be it a school, a doctor, or a quick meal, would be only a 5-minute walk away.
Okay, so this is really interesting. This idea of actually starting to design things like really on purpose is not a new concept, but we're definitely like a little antiquated in different areas. So within real estate, the idea of having the 5-minute town was more about commuting. Like everything you need is within 5 minutes. That's a popular expression. So your grocery store, your, like they're talking about here, your doctor, all these things that you need are close by. Now, this is saying you're in a 5-minute walking neighborhood. So you just quickly walk to stuff. Super cool. My immediate thought is it feels like it'd be crowded, maybe a little claustrophobic, but let's see.
The government says the line will run on 100% clean energy and make extensive use of sensors and AI to manage the city's services.
Little big brother, all the AI managing it. This sounds like Elon's worst nightmare.
And all of this is supposed to be nestled in the pristine natural landscape of the Tabuk province with minimal impact on the environment.
So cool. Like the idea of you're in this little sliver of city and you look out and you're surrounded by mountains. Talk about like $1 million views in every direction. That's really cool. It's also like, I don't know, like what if someone attacks a part of it and you're just in the desert? Like this seems crazy.
Now the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has revealed grandiose—
That guy's also like an avid watch collector, okay? That guy's got some serious watches.
renders of what the city will look like to match the grandiose plans. The line is envisioned as a giant—
Look at that picture the way the glass is like kind of see-through when it's dusk, and the lights from the city, this line of a city. This is blowing my mind, guys.
A glass and mirrored wall, 170 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, and 500 meters tall.
200 meters wide, so that's like very narrow when you think about it. This is really blowing my mind. Like, for example, you think about the average size of a property. So that's how I'm kind of trying to think about this. It's like 200 meters wide is like a city block and a bit. Like, it's not very far. Just think of when you watch the 100-meter race and someone runs down that 100-meter race and then they just run back. Like, that's the length of it. So it's very narrow. Crazy. Really, really interesting.
Tall. That's taller than the Empire State Building. It would have greenery stretching along the top.
Taller than the Empire State Building. That is rattling. I don't know if you guys have been in New York City, but when you go to New York City, you see the Empire State Building. It is huge. So this is like the scale of this project. Think of how expensive it is to build the Empire State Building, and then imagine building 170 kilometers in a straight line of Empire State Building, but the Empire State Building is 200 meters wide, and every single foot of it is built with like infrastructure. It's just like, this is, the scope of this project hurts my brain.
An open-air ventilation system to help maintain an ideal climate year-round, and it would house up to 9 million people.
Yeah, insane, super exciting. I want to just sit and watch all of this. Let's watch a little bit more.
Now, the line is just one part of Saudi Arabia's controversial $500 billion NEO megacity project. For one, the so-called...
Oh, that's just like 100 Apple buildings. Now that we know the Apple buildings are $5 billion, it's just like 100 of those, no big deal.
Virgin land that the government is building NEOM on is, unsurprisingly, not all that virgin. It is the ancestral and current home of many people, including members of the Hawatat tribe, who are being forced from their homes for what many see as a vanity project.
It happens everywhere. You get real estate projects that have these really big, ambitious plans. They want to revitalize an entire, in this case, like entire part of a country, but it comes at a big cost because you've got, you know, native land that's being switched over and being used, and it pushes people out. It's definitely, and this is ultra wealthy people that I would imagine are living in this setting. So it's like, what do you do with people that you're just going to run a straight line right through their home? It's kind of wild.
Those who have dared to speak out against the government's plans or refuse to give up their homes have been harassed and abducted by Saudi security forces, arrested, or in some cases killed.
Crazy. Okay. I am not qualified to comment on this. We're now out of my real estate realm of experience. But here's what I will say. These projects, craziness, super complicated. I would not doubt that they're going to be able to pull this off and not just start building it, but actually finish this, because, man, at one point Dubai was just like a stop in the desert. It was nothing. And look what it is today. I don't doubt that they can do this, and they've got the resources and the money to do it.
The spectacular Louvre Abu Dhabi is the first major building to be constructed in what's one of the most ambitious cultural master plans.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm interrupting the most beautiful moment ever. This thing looks like a giant saucer that's like made of fabric. It looks so amazing. All these intertangled shapes and designs. Like, we have like octagons with like small honeycombs underneath, with star-shaped triangles everywhere. Like, what a masterpiece.
Ever undertaken.
Of course it's the Louvre. What else would it be called?
The first international outpost of the famous French Museum, the Louvre is set to become one of the cornerstones of a new district in Abu Dhabi. As part of the Emirates' long-term strategic plan to attract tourists and diversify its economy, Abu Dhabi is spending $27 billion creating an international cultural destination.
27 billion. That's just 5 Apple headquarters. Now I feel like everything is just like Apple headquarters. You think about the scale and the craziness of that. This is like building 5 of those and then a little bit more. And look at that rendering. Like, how crazy is this looking, man? Like, man, we gotta step up our game over here, guys.
The district will bring together some of the biggest names in architecture, including 5 Pritzker Prize winners. The Louvre Abu Dhabi, which was designed by French architect Jean Nouvel, will be closely followed by an outpost of the Guggenheim, designed by Frank Gehry, which is currently under construction.
Whoa, they're bringing everybody together for this. This whole like waterfront area is looking unreal. When they showed that overhead, and you can see, again, Frank Gehry involved, this is wild.
The National Museum of the UAE, designed by British architect Norman Foster, which will
Look at that too. This is blowing my mind. Imagine being in this city and just getting to run around and look at all this architecture. Unbelievable. This looks like clamshells or something coming out of the water. Like if you were at the beach and there's a clamshell stuck in there facing up, that's what this looks like. It looks absolutely gorgeous.
Tell the story of the country's founder, a futuristic performing arts centre designed by the late Zaha Hadid.
Oh, Zaha Hadid. Okay, so this is truly all the biggest architects. Some of the projects that Zaha has in New York City, when you see those projects, unbelievably beautiful. Again, like this is a masterclass in architecture right here.
Also includes a campus of New York University, 30 hotels, 3 marinas, 8,000 villas, and 38,000 housing units.
I'm in. Sign me up. Get me a ticket. I want to go see this right now. This looks unreal. Now, if you guys haven't gone and followed this B1M channel, I've actually come across this channel before a bunch of times, like really, really cool stuff related to architecture and real estate and everything else. So go check them out. And before we even watch this next clip, by the way, go click below. All the links for these videos that we're watching that Sebastian put together over here, they're all right down in the description. Go click and check them out.
Soaring 632 meters above the financial heart of China.
This building is literally in the clouds. Like right now, look at this. We can't even see the city beneath it. And I'm guessing the poor person who built that bottle opener building right next to it is like, dang man, my building used to be the biggest, not anymore.
Shanghai Tower is the second tallest building in the world.
Okay, I think I've heard about this tower. I think I've seen like one of those landscapes where they show the CN Tower, they show all these different towers, the towers in Dubai, and then all of a sudden I've seen this one and it's like soaring above, but I actually I don't think I can fathom how tall this is, so let's see.
The striking structure features
Oh my gosh, look at this trifecta of building masterpieces, literally in the clouds, and there's somehow a city down below. This is blowing my mind.
incredibly fast elevators, is home to our planet's highest observation deck, and claims to be the world's most sustainable megatall skyscraper.
Drop a comment below. Would you go in this building? Would you go up to the observation deck? Would you freak the heck out? Would you have a panic attack? Are you totally okay with heights? Would you go, if they had like one of those things like we got in Toronto, the edge walk, where you can like put a harness on and dangle on a rope over it? Would you do it? Drop a comment below. I want to know if you're absolutely crazy.
This is how one of the world's tallest and most important skyscrapers failed.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know there was a failure story in here. I'm feeling nervous. The other thing is when you build these like ultra high towers, like they're doing Billionaires Row in New York City, all these different places, the big challenge they have is how to make sure that the building doesn't sway too much. And when they're creating the foundation for this, the structure to hold the building in place, they have to go further and deeper down into the ground the higher up they build, because they need to have something that's going to hold the building in place way deep into the earth to prevent this building. The other thing is, no matter how well you build down and you try to make sure this building's not going to sway, there is sway, and like there's a ton of sway, like feet, multiple feet, maybe even meters they measure the sway in. So this building being this tall, the higher up you go, the more the wind is really attacking it. And like there's noise you have to account for if there's residences up there, or if it's building, if it's like a commercial space. So let's see what goes wrong here, but probably something like that.
Stunning the world with its scale and unusual form, while making the skyscraper superblock one of the densest places on Earth, with more than 1 million square meters of real estate on offer.
1 million square meters of real estate. That's a lot of real estate.
Since its opening in 2016, Shanghai Tower has faced a myriad of problems, most notably an astonishingly low occupancy rate. Until as recently as 2018, the building was half empty.
Half empty. So here's the problem with these massive projects. You have to sell so many units, and humans, we tend to kind of wait until things are like half sold pre-construction before they've actually started it to get excited to want to buy into it. Otherwise we're like, hey, why isn't everybody else buying into this building? And then the stories start, and then the problems start, and then the money doesn't go into the project. And when the money doesn't go into the project, they can't finish the project or improve the things or deal with all the stuff they need to do. Because remember, In these big buildings, everybody starts paying condo fees, and those condo fees go into a reserve fund that help pay for the maintenance of the building to keep the building going. So if you've got a half-filled building and it's already standing, that's going to lead to some problems.
The spaces that were leased were let to domestic corporations, and only 30% of those had actually been able to move in. The much sought-after multinationals were even more reluctant to sign leases. There were several reasons for this.
That's the view I wanted to see. Look at the shape of this building from like lower looking up. Like that is absolutely beautiful.
With operating losses soaring, the tower ran
Those operating losses starting to get expensive, not very easy to keep the building running.
more than $1.5 billion into debt. Secondly, the building's twisting glass facade, ideal for offsetting wind loads, created an impractical floor plate.
Okay, so that's really interesting. You can see in that last photo, the way the building was shaped was to try and offset the fact the wind is going to be hitting it. But in trying to solve one problem, they created another problem, which is that the floor plans, the layouts of the floor plans are really weird. So let's see what they've got.
Forcing tenants to pay for large areas of unusable floor space. Site inspectors found that, on most levels, just 50% of the floor space was used efficiently.
Whoa, that's a huge problem. So you're renting this massive space and you can't even use more than half of it or around half of it. That's a big problem because you're paying for that. And let's be honest, like there's a certain degree of Apple building their big building just for show. But like when you're inviting clients up into this building, yeah, it's cool and everything, but if you can't use half that floor plan and you're paying a premium for all the floor plan, starts to get really expensive.
Shanghai Tower's low occupancy rate is painfully obvious at night, when half the tower fails to light up.
Got a solution for you. Just turn the lights on all those other floors, man, and just make it look full at least.
Shanghai Tower has seemingly fallen short of becoming a monument to the country's economic success.
Dang, it saddens me to hear that. This is the risk you take when you're a developer, and developers go out and they have this big grandiose vision, they want to build things. We tend to see things just seemingly come together somehow, but this is a ton of work to go out, have the vision to build this massive building, then you gotta fill it and just, you're always in sales mode. Really difficult to see. What a magnificent piece of architecture. I'm still very impressed with this structure. If you guys enjoyed the video today, click here right now. Watch me react to David Dobrik's $12 million mansion. Seriously, click here right now. You're gonna love it. Click here. Still watching? Just click the link. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be awesome.